What is up, guys? Welcome back to another brand new Major Ben video. This is the tech channel now. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed, but this is changed now to Major Ben Tech. My other channel is a gaming channel where I stream and play games there. So if you are interested in that, it's in the description. Go and check it out. I'm live very often, and it's just cool to talk to everybody and kind of interact with people. So do go and check that out. But today we have some Sony news that is actually really positive and something that's been kind of needed for a long time, because game preservation is something that has not really been existent with consoles. It's been fantastic on PC. Obviously, you just put a new graphics card in, put a new CPU in, and most of the time, 90% of the time, every single game will just carry on running. I can play games from 30 years ago, essentially, on my PC, and it's pretty much perfect. So that's something that's just not been there with consoles. So the title of this today is PlayStation's new game preservation expert explains what his job actually is. So Sony has hired a prominent new software engineer for its game preservation team, and he's starting to explain what he'll actually be working on. So before Microsoft made a selling point of backwards compatibility, game preservation was not something that many of the companies took seriously. In fact, some, including Sony, seem to go out of their way to prevent old games actually being playable on modern formats. Times have started to change, and Sony is realizing that it needs to up its game, starting with the new PlayStation Plus Premium tier, which is primarily focused on having easy access to older PlayStation titles. Now, those tiers, in my opinion, were a complete disappointment, and I'm desperately hoping that what we're going to read and I'm going to talk about here today is going to actually make the tier system with the older titles in slightly better, and so they're maybe natively able to play on PlayStation 5 hardware. So they also have a newly established preservation team, although this wasn't known by most people until respected community figure Garrett announced he'd got a job as a senior build engineer. That's not a very descriptive title, to be honest with you, so he's been trying to explain to fans what it actually means. So to help, Fredley posted a speech he made at the Game Developers Conference in 2019 on the general subject of game preservation when he was still working at EA. Since he's only just started this new job, though, he says he's still not sure whether he'll personally be doing any emulation work, but he has suggested that his work at Sony is larger in scope than EA, although that wouldn't be so hard, as traditionally EA has appeared even less interested in preservation than Sony. So the GDC Talk discusses how proper game preservation means being able to play a game even after 100 years of storage, Fredley's own example, which involves proper documentation and retaining the tools, servers, clients, and compilers necessary to make it work. So not just keeping a backup of the source code and calling it a day. Whether Sony is prepared to go to those lengths to remains to be seen, but it's still yet to detail any of the titles due to be available on PS Plus Premium, other than it will include PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 and portable titles. Still very sad that there's no PS Vita slapped on the end there. It's like they just want to bury this thing and never discuss it again. The only unofficial indicators so far of the scope of the revamped service is the likely addition of the Siphon Filter franchise and the removal of a number of Konami and Sega titles from predecessor PS Now. There's been a tweet from Garrett Fredley. So apparently I broke the internet announcing my work with PlayStation. For anyone asking what game preservation is, what I do, I did a GDC talk a few years ago on the subject when I worked at EA. My work is similar, although larger in scope. TBD on whether I'll have much of a role to play personally in any emulation work, although I'll share what I can if it comes up. It's only my second day. So obviously this is all very new, but what it is sounding like with the title is that they have hired somebody for game preservation in the end of the day. So that is positive news. As I always have liked to say on this channel, if there was no news about this, it would be more disappointing than the fact that we've got this news. So this is potentially a step in the right direction. There are so many titles, some of the old Ratchet and Clank titles, that I don't necessarily have the hardware, for example, on PlayStation to go back and play those. So I would love to be able to have preservation of games to run with the later systems and be able to play the original Ratchet and Clank titles on PlayStation. Even if they're the same resolution, same frame rate that they were back in the day, just being able to play them on my latest system would be a benefit to me. And if they were selling those games on the store, I can imagine they'd do so well. I'd probably repurchase some of the older games just so I can play them on the newer systems if they're going to be around permanently. These games, they're talking about having games 100 years ago, you know, so it would be insane to be able to have all those old titles on the stores. And yeah, I'm not always the best sort of person to say, right, go back and play these old games, because to be honest, they're usually very memory based in terms of how you're feeling about the games. You know, you like those games not because they were necessarily the best games, but the memories you had along with them. So I don't always recommend going back and doing those because they're not necessarily the same. But for ones that are worth doing, it would just be amazing to be able to have those games that you purchased all those years ago, which is kind of the main thing here, preserved to now. And even speaking of now times, like let's say I bought Spider-Man and Returnal, having those games constantly brought forward to each new piece of hardware, rather than just a few years ago, any PlayStation 3 titles are completely now unplayable on PlayStation 4 and 5. You know, there was nothing there. Everything you bought on that system was locked to that system and was never going to be able to be brought forward to the PlayStation 4 and 5. And it kind of just justifies your purchase, especially digitally. I really think now is the time to get into the digital market with stuff, because more than ever these games are going to start looking to be preserved, as we've seen here, and I doubt and find it very difficult to believe that the physical versions will work the exact same way. So I think this is another push towards digital marketing as well. But I know for a fact if I spent £70 on Returnal, I desperately want that game lasting with me forever. I don't want to have to buy that game on the new system when they do the enhanced edition just to sell the same game to you again for the next system, like they're doing with The Last of Us coming up shortly. You know, I think that sort of stuff is terrible, and I think it should be banned from any industry. I don't think it's healthy for a gaming industry. But this is positive news in my opinion. I'm really liking the look of what they're talking about. I like what they're saying with this, so I'm hoping desperately that they are going to put a lot of work. And same with Microsoft. Microsoft's done a fantastic job of bringing some of the original Xbox titles forward and able to run on the Xbox Series S and X system, even via the physical copy in the Series X case. Like, that is phenomenal. So desperately hoping that Sony are going to catch up and surpass. Remember, everything is about companies being better than the other companies. Whether you're a fan of Sony or a fan of Microsoft or PC or whatever, whatever any other system is doing in the space that's positive is positive for all systems, because it drives competition. And that's why I never have understood fanboys when people don't like something that another company's done well, because in the end of the day, that company's doing well, it means the other company has to do the same things to keep up. Any feature sets that company is including, like incredible backwards compatibility, Microsoft will see this, that Sony's doing this, and think, right, we've got to make sure we keep up our game and get ahead of Sony, because we want to sell our system over theirs. So that's always the way this works. Competition is healthy. Forget what every fanboy on the internet says. Competition is the best thing for these systems. That's it for this video. I do hope you guys have an absolutely awesome rest of your day. I'm loving, I'm just going to chat for a second at the end. If you can click off, the news is done. I just want to talk about me for a second. I am loving making the content I'm doing. I'm trying to find more time to play games myself, because I feel like I'm not actually playing enough. I'm too busy recording videos, streaming like Fortnite, and I want to actually get back to playing some of my single player games because it's what I love, and I missed doing that kind of thing. I will be streaming games as well, like Lego Star Wars has been playing on the channel. I want to play The Witcher 3 through properly, because I've never really done that, and that's something I've always wanted to do. So there are tons of videos coming, tons of streams. Check out the other channel. I also do stream on my Twitch as well. All the links are down in the description. Discord down in the description. You guys can come and join the chat. It's always a good laugh. You know, if we have more people there talking and communicating, it's always fun. And most importantly, just let me know what you'd like to see. If there's any games you would like me to play, anything that's coming out in the future that you think, Ben, check this game out. It's cool. Talk about this. Give me news articles. Anything you want me to discuss on this channel or the other channel, please let me know. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.